to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
It's Ebro, Laura, and Rosenberg. You know, when they elected Governor Phil Murphy in Jersey, one of his campaign promises was in the first 100 days, we're going to have legalized marijuana, cannabis, recreational for adults. Then he ran into a series of roadblocks and trying to get everything organized. But just the other day, the bill got signed, and joining the show, Governor Phil Murphy to talk us through what this new policy is all about for the state of New Jersey. Good morning, Phil Murphy. How are you doing, sir?
Ebro, it's great to be with you and Laura and Rosenberg, and thrilled to be joined by my colleague, Dianna Houenou. Big day for Jersey. Signed the bills. There are actually three bills on Monday, which at the same time decriminalized use of marijuana and set up the cannabis regulatory underpinning that Dianna will chair. And we have at long last begun to turn the page on decades of failed marijuana and other drug policies that have nicked up far too many lives, overwhelmingly lives of color. And it was a good day. It took us, as you rightfully point out, not 100 days. It took us actually in the end 1,134.
There's a 100 in there, though. There you go. There's a 100 in there. So, Governor Phil, I want to dig into the bill. So you've always, every time we've talked to you about it, your biggest priority here was the communities that were being basically abused by these laws. You know, in white neighborhoods, in the suburbs, white kids. I mean, look, kids, everybody smokes the ganja. However, black and brown kids are the ones doing most of the time and getting, you know, their lives turned upside down by, you know, the laws and the law enforcement. This bill, or these three bills, what does it do for getting nonviolent first-time drug offenders out of jail? What does it do for the expungement of records? Can we have some detail on that?
Yep, I'll give you some, and Dianna should weigh in here as well. Ebro, let me roll the tape back for 1 sec. Why did it take so long? We tried to do it legislatively. We came close, didn't get done. We then put it as a referendum to the voters. They voted overwhelmingly, 2/3 to 1/3 to legalize. And then it just took us a while to get these bills into the right place. We wanted to both make sure we didn't put any more kids, particularly kids of color, into the criminal justice system. And at the same time, we didn't want to inadvertently legalize marijuana for kids. So that's a quick background as to why it took so long. You're absolutely right. Why did I get there? I got there completely because of social justice. People say to me all the time, hey, it'll create jobs, it'll create revenues for the state. That's all well and good. The reason I put my signature on this is because of social justice. New Jersey, when I came into office, had the widest white, non-white rate of persons incarcerated in America. And this is going to be a big step, and it's low-end drug offenses was the overwhelming reason. Dianna, do you want to, if it's okay with Ebro, Laura, and Rosenberg,
yeah, of
Dianna,
course.
Do you want to jump in and just explain what this does for going forward, look back, and all the above?
The chairman
Absolutely.
of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, a new position in the state of New Jersey. Her name is Dianna Houenou. And Dianna, where are you originally from? Are you from Jersey?
Originally from North Carolina. I'm actually, child of immigrants. So first generation American, born in North Carolina. But I came to Jersey, and here I found a home, and I found a cause.
So building on what Governor Phil Murphy was talking about, how does this impact people who are currently locked up, nonviolent first-time drug offenders, small amounts of marijuana? What happens and when?
So dealing with folks who have previously been entangled in the criminal justice system is priority number one, right? We can't legalize this substance and then let people continue to languish for prior behavior. So anybody who has been convicted or charged for a marijuana-related offense, those convictions are automatically expunged. If you're currently serving a sentence for marijuana-related offense, automatically vacated. And we really wanted to do this without burdening those individuals. So there's no application that's required. You don't have to lift a finger It's on the courts and the state of New Jersey to do what's right for our people.
And you'll be the one holding these people accountable.
Well, yeah. So,
I'm just assuming that, there's judges and police and people who may be on the other side of this issue. Who do we talk to when we start hearing stories about, well, this judge decided to do this and it goes against this? And, what are people's recourse here if they don't see the results that you're talking about?
Accountability. Really, it's going to be at the forefront of making sure that we're doing the right thing and we're keeping our promise to New Jerseyans. So lawmakers are keenly going to be watching to make sure that we're carrying out the letter of the law. Me, in my role as the chair of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, I'll be working with my team to set up the actual industry and setting the rules and regulations that will govern, operating a legal business in New Jersey in this space. It's a great opportunity for us. It's going to be, it's not going to happen overnight. And we've got some lessons to learn. Luckily, we've got a whole host of other jurisdictions that have gone before us that we can learn from and really take the best of what's happening and do something great for New Jersey.
Dianna, is there a state that you believe has done this very well?
I wouldn't say that there's one state I would point to as a model. Everybody's been trying different things, and that's great, right? But even the most mature market in the country, Colorado, it's still been less than 10 years since they went online with legalized marijuana. So we're all still learning a little bit together. Luckily, we've got a great network of regulators across the country who are sharing ideas and are not afraid to try something new. Here in New Jersey, I'm really proud of what we've been able to put in place because we've put into the law some concrete measures to make sure that there's equity in the industry, make sure that there's representation, because our industry operators should reflect the diversity of our state. And we've put language into the law to make sure that the revenues that are generated go back to communities, particularly the most harmed.
Now, there was another fear that I respect the fear too. And it's a conversation we need to keep having about the location of dispensaries. Is there language to protect low-income communities from being the, dumping ground? The same way liquor stores and all these things pop up in low-income communities, it seems like on every corner. How are we going to make sure these low-income communities don't have a dispensary on every corner?
That's a great question. And it was a real fear that people had and people shared with me during the campaign for legalization. Local communities are going to have a say here. They are going to have a voice to indicate whether they want a cannabis business in their jurisdiction or not.
Got it.
And from there, the local zoning rules and permitting processes will take place to make sure that we're not overburdening certain communities that are repeatedly marginalized and overburdened time and time again.
Governor Phil Murphy, excuse me, I've repeatedly been saying on the show, this doesn't mean that people can drive around and smoke weed or walk around and smoke weed. The same way people can't drive around and drink alcohol or walk around and drink alcohol. And I kind of feel like we need to keep saying that because people be like, yo, it's legal, man. Yo, what's the problem? So I kind of feel like we need to get out in front of that.
That's a great point. This prohibits using in a public place, and it is very explicit about giving law enforcement what they need in terms of dealing with someone who could be driving while impaired from either alcohol or marijuana. One of the things we've done is we've leveled the playing field between underage alcohol and underage marijuana and decriminalizing both. But as it relates to operating a motor vehicle, you can't do that, folks. And we got to make sure folks remember that, and law enforcement have the tools to deal with that explicitly.
So what do you do to ensure that? And how are you? Obviously, we know how blood alcohol content tests work, but what do you do to ensure that people aren't driving while impaired?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I'll go back to what Dianna said about comparing notes with other states, and she should weigh in here. there's a very well functioning cabal among all the states that have either legalized or are considering legalizing. And I would just echo what Dianna said. I don't know that any state has done it perfectly, but each state has done something we think that's smart. And in many cases, they've done something that they wish they hadn't done. This is one of the trickier ones. There's a lot of training of law enforcement that is going to have to take place, which is embodied and envisioned as part of this bill. Dianna, anything else you want to add to that specific question?
Sure. I'll just simply note that cops have been busting people for intoxicated driving thus far, right? And so that's not going to change. Now, luckily, by opening up the market and allowing more access to handle cannabis and marijuana, like that's also going to come with a lot of innovation. And so there are companies out there currently working on tools that can detect THC levels a little bit more accurately, assess whether somebody is intoxicated or not. But this doesn't really change what cops have been able to do for forever. They've got the training to recognize intoxication, and they'll still have that training.
Dianna, over what period of time will we have details on the cost of purchasing a marijuana, recreational selling license, and what as far as policy on how many licenses will be available, and what hoops you got to jump through to be somebody that opens up a dispensary, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so there are a lot of questions that we've already been getting from folks who want to operate a business in this space. And right now we are working on launching the commission, getting that stood up. And then from there, we'll be making sure that everybody understands what the expectations are, what the rules and regulations will be. We have to write those. We have to determine how many licenses we're going to make available. And how those, what the fees are going to be, what the application requirements are going to be. But all of that will be publicized heavily. And we're going to be doing a lot of outreach efforts to make sure that the communities know when we're ready to get rolling.
Dianna Houenou, she is the chair, of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, and Governor Phil Murphy. As this stuff becomes more familiar with the public, we'll be having more conversation with you both. Governor Phil Murphy, before we let you go, quick vaccination update. Do we have new vaccinations in Jersey? I know there was a shortage. Where are we at with getting people vaccinated today? I know every day it's changing. So
the quick headlines, Ebro, and it's great to be with you all. Very good progress has been made. We're far from being satisfied. As I said here, we'll probably put about 1.8 million shots into arms. The supply from the feds has been less than what we had hoped. The Biden team, I think, are doing a great job correcting that, but it won't be overnight. It'll take some time. But you probably saw the Johnson & Johnson news. That's a pending new authorization. We could get that as early as next week. That's a big deal because it's one shot, regular refrigeration. That allows us to get into hard to reach places, and that will be my second point. So we've built a massive distribution system. We've put 1.8 million shots into people's arms. We still are way undersupplied, so there's a supply-demand imbalance. And as it relates to equity, I say this all the time, the pandemic didn't create the inequities, but it's laid them bare. And we're still on that journey to vaccinate, especially deeper into our Black and brown communities. I was at a largely African-American church yesterday, which is vaccinating folks. I was at a Latino church the night before. There's good progress, but we still have a ways to go.
Governor Phil Murphy, thank you for your time. Dianna Houenou, Chairman of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Pleasure to meet you. We'll be talking a lot, Dianna. Buckle up.
Looking forward to it, Ebro.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, y'all.
Guys.
It's Ebro, Lauren Rosenberg. The Gurus are next. Cast 1, 97 minutes, commercial free. Perfect song, my guy. Perfect.